Ever wondered what life is like on the roof of the world? Join us as we uncover the mysteries of Tibet, from its hidden monasteries to its vibrant festivals. Discover why this enchanting land has captivated explorers and spiritual seekers for centuries. Ready to explore the secrets of the Himalayas, fascinating traditions like fraternal polyandry system where women marries two or more siblings, usually brothers? Let the adventure begin. Tibet is called the roof of the world due to its extremely high elevation, averaging over 4,500 meters, 14,800 feet above sea level. Home to the majestic Himalayas, including Mount Everest, Tibet's towering peaks and vast plateaus give it this lofty and evocative title. Tibet's high elevation results in significantly lower oxygen levels, around 40% less than at sea level. This reduced oxygen can make breathing difficult, causing altitude sickness for many. Despite this, Tibet generally enjoys good air quality due to its remote location and low industrial activity. Tibetans have adapted to low oxygen levels through genetic, physiological, and lifestyle changes. Key genetic adaptations include the EPAS1 gene, which regulates red blood cell production, and variations in the HIF pathway, enhancing oxygen efficiency. Physiologically, Tibetans exhibit increased lung capacity, efficient oxygen diffusion, and higher resting ventilation rates. Their circulatory system maintains higher blood flow and capillary density, improving oxygen delivery. Tibet's summers are mild and pleasant, with daytime temperatures between 10 degrees Celsius and 25 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Fahrenheit to 77 degrees Fahrenheit, though nights can be chilly. Winters are harsh, with temperatures often below freezing, ranging from minus 10 degrees Celsius to 10 degrees Celsius, 14 degrees Fahrenheit to 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and can drop to minus 30 degrees Celsius, minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit, in higher altitudes. Snowfall and strong winds are common during winter months. This climatic change adds to the challenge conditions, which adds to the stunning landscapes of Tibet. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. Ready to hear about Tibet's history? The origins of Tibetan culture are ancient, with evidence of early settlements and kingdoms. The Tibetan Empire, 618 to 842 AD, founded by King Songtsen Gampo, marked the consolidation of various tribes and the adoption of Buddhism, which became central to Tibetan identity and governance. During the Yuan dynasty, 1271 to 1368, Tibet was under Mongol control but enjoyed relative autonomy. The Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644, continued a policy of indirect rule, allowing Tibetan local leaders significant autonomy while maintaining a nominal suzerainty. The Qing dynasty, 1644 to 1912, formally established control over Tibet in the 18th century. The region was governed by a combination of local Tibetan authorities and king officials, with the king emperor appointing ambans, officials, to oversee Tibetan affairs while allowing the Dalai Lama and Panchen Lama to manage local governance. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, British and Russian interests in Tibet increased, leading to geopolitical tensions. The 1904 British expedition to Tibet aimed to secure trade routes and influence, but the 1907 Anglo-Russian Convention and the 1914 Simla Convention sought to define Tibet's status, though China never formally accepted the agreements. In 1950, the People's Liberation Army of China entered Tibet, leading to the 17-point Agreement of 1951, which established Tibetan autonomy under Chinese sovereignty. The 1959 Tibetan uprising, driven by dissatisfaction with Chinese rule, resulted in a violent crackdown and the Dalai Lama's flight to India. After 1959, Tibet experienced significant changes, including land reforms, economic development, and efforts to assimilate Tibetan culture into the broader Chinese framework. The Chinese government has implemented various policies to modernize the region but has faced criticism for human rights issues and cultural suppression. Today, Tibet is an autonomous region within the People's Republic of China, with ongoing debates about its cultural preservation, autonomy, and human rights. The Tibetan government in exile, led by the Dalai Lama, advocates for greater autonomy and cultural preservation while maintaining international dialogue on Tibet's future. Polyandry is a marital system in which a woman has multiple husbands simultaneously. It helps manage limited resources and preserve family land. By marrying multiple brothers, families consolidate their holdings and ensure that land and wealth remain intact, avoiding division among heirs. This practice also addresses the male-to-female ratio in areas where men might migrate for work, reducing competition for resources and promoting social stability. Children born in polyandrous families are typically raised collectively by all the husbands and the wife. They often see all the male figures as paternal influences, fostering a strong sense of family unity. The practice ensures that children are cared for by a larger support network, which can be advantageous in harsh environments with limited resources. Despite the complexities, polyandry provides a means to address socio-economic challenges and maintain familial stability. What do you think about these traditions? Your opinion matters. Please comment below and let's chat. The Tibetan antelope, also known as chiru, provides vital resources for local communities. Its soft undercoat, known as shehtush, is highly prized for making warm clothing. Traditionally, local herders harvest this wool sustainably, though poaching has posed significant threats. Beyond their economic value, chirus also contribute to the local ecosystem by maintaining the balance between vegetation and grazing animals, supporting biodiversity in the Tibetan plateau. Ancient nomads faced challenges to protect themselves against predators like the Tibetan brown bear, Pallas's cat, Tibetan sand fox, and Tibetan wolf. To address this issue, they need the Tibetan Mastiff. It is a large, powerful dog breed native to the Tibetan plateau. Known for its thick, insulating coat and protective nature, with its strong, independent temperament, the Tibetan Mastiff is a loyal and effective guardian. Today, it is also valued as a companion animal and symbol of strength and resilience. Tibet is home to several significant lakes, including Namko, Yamdrok, and Pangong. Namko, one of the largest saltwater lakes, regulates the local climate and serves as a water source. Yamdrok, a freshwater lake, supports irrigation and drinking water for local communities and agriculture. Pangong, shared with India, provides water and habitat for wildlife. These lakes are essential for regional water resources, influencing local ecosystems and climate. They also play a critical role in sustaining agriculture and providing drinking water in an otherwise arid environment. Tibet is known for its sparse vegetation due to its high altitude, harsh climate, and arid conditions. The black diamond apple is a rare and unique fruit from Tibet, known for its deep, dark purple to black skin. It's a variety of the Huanyu apple, prized for its sweet, crisp flavor and high nutritional value. Grown in the harsh climates of the Tibetan plateau, it is not widely available outside its native region, making it a sought-after delicacy among apple enthusiasts. The black diamond apple is considered a luxury fruit due to its rarity and unique growing conditions. It can be quite expensive. Prices may vary, but they typically range from $10 to $30 per apple in markets where it is available, reflecting its exclusivity and the high cost of cultivation in Tibet's harsh environment. The Tibetan flag is also known as the snow lion flag, features a vibrant design with a central white snow lion, symbolizing purity and strength. The flag's background is divided into 5 colors: red, blue, yellow, and green, representing elements like fire, sky, earth, and water. The two snow lions are flanked by a sun and a series of traditional patterns. Adopted in 1920, it was used as the national flag of Tibet until 1951 when Tibet came under Chinese control. The flag remains a symbol of Tibetan identity and resistance. Tibet is known for its stories. King Gar, also known as Gar Tongtsen or Gar Trinring Zendrung, was a significant figure in early Tibetan history, ruling in the 7th century during the height of the Tibetan Empire. As a powerful and influential king, he played a crucial role in consolidating Tibetan power and promoting Buddhism. His reign saw the expansion of Tibetan territory and the strengthening of the empire's influence in Central Asia. King Gar's leadership contributed to the development of a unified Tibetan state and the establishment of a lasting cultural and religious legacy. Tibetan music and dance are integral to the region's cultural heritage. Traditional Tibetan music features unique instruments like the drenen, lute, dangchen, long horn, and cymbals, with melodies often accompanied by chants and throat singing. Dance forms include the vibrant chum, a ceremonial mask dance performed during Tibetan Buddhist festivals, symbolizing the triumph of good over evil. Another popular dance is the yak dance mimicking the movements of yaks. These artistic expressions play a vital role in religious rituals, festivals, and community celebrations, reflecting Tibet's spiritual beliefs and communal values. Male monks are called Lama are central to Tibetan Buddhism, often serving as teachers, spiritual leaders, and practitioners. They undergo rigorous training in Buddhist philosophy, meditation, and rituals. They study at monasteries, where they receive extensive training and education in Buddhist texts, rituals, and practices. There is a hierarchical structure, with high-ranking lamas, such as the Dalai Lama, holding significant spiritual and administrative authority. Female monks are called nuns are also involved in spiritual practice but often have fewer opportunities for advanced education and leadership roles compared to their male counterparts. Nuns receive training in Buddhist teachings and practices, but their access to higher education and positions within the monastic hierarchy has traditionally been more limited. In recent years, efforts have been made to enhance the status and educational opportunities for female monks, with some gaining recognition and greater roles within the Buddhist community. Tibetan astrology is influenced by Indian Vedic and Chinese astrology, integrates lunar cycles, planetary movements, and elemental theories. It features a 12-animal zodiac and a 5-element system, earth, water, fire, air, space, that shape personal traits and compatibility. The lunisolar Tibetan calendar determines auspicious dates for events like ceremonies and marriages. Tibetan astrologers use complex charts to offer guidance on spiritual and personal matters, predicting favorable times and addressing issues related to health and relationships. Integral to Tibetan culture, astrology helps harmonize daily life with cosmic cycles and spiritual practices. Tibet hosts several vibrant festivals throughout the year. Tibetan New Year is celebrated in February or March, marks the beginning of the lunar year. It features traditional dances, rituals, family gatherings, and the offering of ceremonial foods to dispel negative energies and welcome prosperity. Saga Dawa is celebrated in May or June. This festival commemorates the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. Pilgrims perform rituals, make offerings, and engage in acts of charity, often visiting sacred sites and participating in communal prayers. Lahabab Dachen, which is held in October or November, this festival marks the Buddha's descent from heaven to earth after teaching his mother. It involves special prayers, offerings, and religious ceremonies. Monlam Prayer Festival is also known as the Great Prayer Festival. It takes place in January or February and lasts for several days. Monks gather at monasteries to recite prayers and perform rituals for world peace and prosperity. During these festivals in some regions they have a unique practices where young women may sleep with tourists, which is seen as to bring blessings and good fortune. This tradition is controversial, which is an essential element of their cultural heritage.